Hi, this is Dr. Andrew Thorn, and today I'm reading chapter 1 of my original book, the first book I ever wrote in 2010 called U-wun-ge-lay-ma, A Guide to Next Level Living. As I read chapter 1, you'll get a sense of what that topic means. I just thought it would be fun to share this book with you from an author's perspective, for me reading it and sharing with you the insights that I've had since I wrote it and some of the things that led it to it. It's a gloomy day today, lots of snow on the ground. The two lights are not my aura. They are coming from the ceiling. I normally don't have to turn the lights on when I'm in here in the daytime, but it's just kind of gloomy. So I turned them on so I didn't look gloomy. I certainly don't feel gloomy. I'm kind of a happy guy today. And so without any further awkwardness, I will start reading this and sharing this chapter with you. Let me share my screen so you can follow along if you want. All right, here we go. Chapter 1, The Tale of the Name of the Tree. When I was a kid, the world was quite different than it is today. We didn't have cell phones, video games, iPods, or DVD players to steal away our creative moments. The lack of these technological wonders made it easy for us to hear our own voices. Daily, we anxiously engaged in some project born out of our own imagination. When we finished one adventure, we quickly began another. All of our endeavors had one thing in common. They had to be better than the ones we did before. I must admit, we tried a lot of harebrained schemes that never got off the ground, but for some reason, we kept trying. Taking things to the next level became second nature. It was never easy. We always wanted to improve. We even dreamed that some of our inventions would get us listed in the Guinness Book of World Records. That was our constant quest. We wanted to get better. Well, here, let me just insert that my friend Melanie McMorris and I one night decided that we were going to set the record for being on a teeter-totter. I guess we had watched the episode of the Brady Bunch where this is discussed, where Bobby Brady and his sister Cindy decide that they're going to set the record. Well, Melanie and I tried to set the record, and we were on it a long time. I remember long into the night before we finally got off. And that was just one of the things that I was thinking about as I was writing this paragraph, that we really truly did think when I was a kid that we could take things through the next level, and it was something that we did all the time. Well, back to the text. One year for Christmas, my sister Rayanne and I received a record called Danny Kaye Tells 6 Stories from Faraway Places. One of the stories that particularly caught our imagination was called The Tale of the Name of the Tree. This story originated with the people of Africa. Danny Kaye had a knack for telling stories, and this one taught us that when we want to raise the bar, we must be willing to use all of our resources, even the ones that we generally overlook. It also taught us that the road to innovation and ingenuity is paved with unconventional wisdom. In other words, stretching to new heights sometimes requires us to act in ways that seem counterintuitive. To reach the next level, we must be willing to abandon what we know so that we can see things the way they really are and the way they really will be. In the tale of the name of the tree, well, over 30 years have passed since I first heard this story. Gee, now it's more like 40. It's probably getting closer to 50 years now that have passed since I first heard the story, since I wrote this in 2010. So let me modify. Over 50 years have passed since I first heard this story, and I'm still affected by its message. I share this fable with you now as I begin this guide to the next level. There was at this time, my friend, a great famine in the land. Now in the land there grew a great tree with fine fruit, but it was known that this fruit would only drop when someone spoke the name of the tree. So as the famine grew worse and worse, the people all came and lived near the tree, waiting for the fruit to ripen. When the fruit was almost ripe, it was found with dismay that no one knew the name of the tree. So they said, "Let us send the hare to the chief over the mountains in order that he might tell us the name." The hare accordingly set forth and soon reached the kraal of the chief over the mountains. When he asked the chief for the name of the chief replied, "That tree is called U-wun-ge-lay-ma. When you get back, stand beneath it and say U-wun-ge-lay-ma, and the fruit will fall." So the hare hurried on his way back to his people, but he had not gone far on the path when he tripped over a root and rolled down the hill. And before he reached the bottom, the name of the tree had gone out of his head. He tried all the names he knew and many others as he went along. He said it, U-wun-ge-lay-ma, or U-wun-ge-lay-ma, and or what? All the way he tried to remember, but when he arrived at the tree, although he tried many words, not a piece of fruit fell. Now the people said they would send the springbok, for he was so swift he would return before he had forgotten the word. So the springbok set out and arrived in no time. Then the chief told him, that tree is called U-wun-ge-lay-ma. And he started back as fast as he could to return to his people. But in his haste, he tripped over an anthill, and before he could pick himself up, the name was gone. He tried all the names he knew on the way, but in vain. When he got back, all he could say was U-wun-ge-lay-ma, and that was no use. So the people said they would send the kudu, for he was stronger and would not fall on the way. So the kudu set out and soon arrived at the chief's kraal. The chief over the mountains told him, the name of that tree is U-wun-ge-lay-ma, and the kudu thanked him and started back. But on his way, he caught his horns in the branches of a tree. While he was freeing himself, he forgot to say the word, and it went out of his head. When he had freed himself, it was gone. And when he returned to his people, he had to admit that he had forgotten it. The people now said that they would send the lion, for he was both swift and strong, and he had no horns to catch in the trees. The lion got the word from the chief over the mountains and started home, repeating the word to himself. But the sun was hot and he was tired. He lay down to rest in the shade of a bush, and he slept. But when he woke, the name was gone out of his head. Now the lion was too proud to admit he had forgotten the word, so he made up a word and said it many times to the tree, but no fruit fell. Then the people said, nonsense, there is no such word. You are no better than the others, for you have forgotten also. And they were very sad, for their hunger was growing and the fruit was ripening. At last the elephant said, let us send the tortoise. All of the animals laughed, for they were sure no one so slow could remember. But the lion said, let him go. Since we have all failed, it's best that he should fail also. But before the tortoise left, he went to his mother and asked her, how does one remember a very hard word? His mother said, if you wish to remember it, do not stop saying it for any reason. After a long time, the tortoise reached the kraal of the chief over the mountains, and the chief told him, the tree is called U-wun-ge-lay-ma. The tortoise asked him again, and the chief told him yet again. The tortoise asked him a third time, and the chief said the word yet again. So then he set out, saying the name to himself. When he came to the anthill, he said, U-wun-ge-lay-ma, as he went around it. When he came to the tree, he just went on saying it. And again, when he came to the bush, although he was very tired and it was very hot, he only said U-wun-ge-lay-ma and kept on. At last he reached his home, and his wife said, you are very tired. Will you not rest? But the tortoise said U-wun-ge-lay-ma and went on. When he reached his friends underneath the tree, they all said, what is the name of the tree? Tell us the name of the tree. And he said, U-wun-ge-lay-ma. And the fruit immediately began to fall. And the people ate and were hungry no longer. And they said, we will make the tortoise chief over all the people, for he has brought us the name of the tree. And now, my friend, can you remember the name of the tree? Before moving on to the next chapter, please read or listen to again the fable. This time, consider your place in the story. If you were a character in this story, where do you fit in? Which character is most like you? How do you remember important lessons, the important lessons of your life, so that they are fresh when you need them? You are not required to walk by memory. There is space at the end of each of these chapters, and now it's up to you to take the time to do that since you're listening. But the time is up to you. You may wish to purchase a journal to preserve your prominent reflections and key listenings. Or key learning, sorry. The journey to the next level will require you to develop a very introspective approach. If you really want to raise the bar, you must become comfortable examining your own way of being and documenting your findings. You must be willing to grow and develop. T.S. Eliot described the journey to the next level this way: only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go. You are now free to be whoever you want to be. So I'm going to put those 3 questions up there for just a second. Maybe you want to jot them down. And I'll share a couple of thoughts. This story, it has much to do with our time today. I may touch on this in the next chapter, but today it is a time of famine, and that's why I use this story, because I believe that that it is a time of famine. Hope you got those questions down. It is a time of famine for us in hearing our own voices, and there's a lot of noise that goes on in the land right now, and there is great wisdom that comes from listening to your own voice, and I just want to encourage you to do that. And I'm looking forward to reading chapter 2 to you soon. In the meantime, I'm Andrew Thorn, the founder of the Legacy Sherpa, and I'll see you in the next chapter.